Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. And this week, joining us from Switzerland is Rafał Witaszek. Hey, Rafał, welcome to the show.
Hi, Vasco. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So Rafał believes that the best things are done together. And as a Scrum Master, his focus is on enabling communication within the organization. As he is also a passionate sailor, he's learned that we need to adjust our sails to make the best use of the wind, which I think is a great metaphor. And I think we will explore that quite a lot this week. So focus on what we can affect and leave the other things out. Very good, Rafał. So that was a short intro. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how does a sailor get to become a Scrum Master?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good question. So, sailor is a passion. And, the more we think we are doing, especially I believe in our business world, we tend to find some kind of analogies. And I think that this sailing analogy is very good for that. How I became the Scrum Master. So I finished computer science, and my first step in IT career was in QA. And why I did this? Because I like this position of being close to the technology, but also connection with the business side of it. And that was the beginning. Then after beginning of QA, I moved to Iceland in 2006, and that was the first time I encountered Scrum in my life. And it was totally new, refreshing, and I really, really like it. And after this career part of being a project team in Iceland, I moved to Netherlands to the company when we started with CMMI. And then the company decided that we need to move quicker to the market. And this is how we start transforming to Agile and Scrum. And I became a Scrum Master of one of the product teams. And that was in May 2011. So a while ago.
Indeed. I can only imagine how incredibly colorful, to use a word, that transformation from CMMI to Scrum might have been. I mean, I do have some experience with CMMI, and I can see that maybe certain things are, they're perfectly in sync between Scrum and CMMI approaches. CMMI is, of course, a maturity model and something that is used in order to assess organizations' ability to develop software in that particular maturity model, not in general, because that's a totally different game. But I can imagine there might be some interesting stories there. Now, I don't know if you're going to tell us one of those stories, but of course, because today is Monday, we're going to talk about a story of failure, something that went wrong. And we do that because we want to learn, not to dwell on the failure, but rather to take some learning, take some insights, and that we can apply to our life and our work later on. So tell us that story, Rafał.
So that story about creating an alignment. And that was my failure that I would like to confess here. So be sure, my single tip of advice will be make sure that you are aligned among the people that you are embracing and creating the change in organization. And that was my failure.
So tell us a little bit more of how that story started. So what was this? Is this a big or a small organization? What was your role there? How did it start?
Mm-hmm. So that was a big organization, like with thousands of people, right? And after the short interview process, I met only during this interview Agile coach and two product owners. And then we create kind of alignment where we would like to go with the change. And I heard a bit about the team, and this is how I landed that job. But at that time, not all the parties that are playing a role in the transformation were exposed to me. So when I came to organization and then I had my one-on-ones with the team and with the product owners and of course with Agile Coach, I thought I have a great and clear picture about where we would like to move. I created the change plan, and now I know that this change plan was not communicated widely enough to create an alignment. And then when when the change process started, I heard some voices that not everything is according to their expectation, because their expectation from the Scrum Master role was different than actually what I thought that Scrum Master should do in the organization. And because I did not create this alignment and then brought all those people together, product owners, PAL and Agile coach, and all people involved in the changes were not, let's say, supported and did not have enough buy-in from all the people affected by the change. And though I still believe that the path that I choose was correct, because there were not enough support from the, let's say, management and all the stakeholders that had a part in it, yeah, not everything went so smoothly as I will expect.
This is definitely a very important realization for many of us. It very often happens that when we get started with a change process, we sometimes even, we thought about it and we thought we had involved everybody, but then a new stakeholder comes up later on that we didn't know about. We didn't even know they were involved, and suddenly they were, and they could put the foot on the brake, right, and stop the change. So that this reminds me of one aspect of what our job is as Scrum Masters, which is to also assess, perhaps even constantly, who are my key stakeholders, right? Like you are talking about a change program, and that's the particular context of your story, but it doesn't need to be a change program. It could be something within the team. Sometimes we're helping the team through some change, whatever that might be, like adopting a new tool or whatever, and then suddenly we find out that actually that the decision on that tool is in somebody else's table, and we didn't involve them, and now they feel left out, and they don't agree with us, right? And they want to go with some other tool. That's just another example. If you look back, Rafał, though, I don't know if this was a case of you not knowing who was involved, or maybe new people coming up you didn't know existed. But if you look back and you could go back to that point in time, what would be some of the things that you would have done differently at that time?
Yes, that's a good question, and of course, I asked myself quite a few times. And as you mentioned, the stakeholder management, I think this is a really underappreciated part of, let's say, our work, not only as a Scrum Master, but product owner and everyone who is working on the product on different levels. So yes, what I'll do differently, definitely, I will identify correctly, or to my extent of knowledge I could reach during that time, all the key stakeholders, bring everyone to one room. Of course, in the times that we have with the hybrid mode, probably it will be a virtual room, but nevertheless, bring all the people together, create a plan, and then so that we have some kind of basics to that we can communicate, and we have some background where we are going and what are our very next step, and create alignment and agreement that this is what we would like to achieve together. And of course, this is something to be changed. But let's hear all the voices. Let's put all the cards on the table, and see where we are and where we are going together.
And one of the things that reminds me of is that sometimes we think that we have the best way, and maybe we even do, but because at the end it's other people who need to live with the change. We not only is it important to listen to their voices, which is, as you said, a very important aspect, but sometimes we need to, as Scrum Masters, accept that the change the team wants is different from the one we would have chosen, and still help them, right? Because at the end of the day, one of the jobs that we need to do as Scrum Masters is to help the team take ownership about how they work, what they prioritize, what they want to focus on. And that might even sometimes require us to say, okay, this is not what I would have done, but I'm going to help the team anyway, because it's what they want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot agree more with you. So whenever this is my default mode, that bring it to the team, as Lidis Atkins mentioned, bring it to the team, and then let's have this conversation together. And I also believe that one of the approaches that I'm using, or I'm trying to use, is commit and disagree. So there is a time for conversation. We have conversation. We validate all the options that we have in hand, But then when we make a decision, we are all supporting that decision till the next checkpoint when we can validate if we are achieving the goals that we set for ourselves, and either we pivot or we stay on the track, making some small alignments.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point that you just made. Commit and disagree is a very powerful tool for us to bring to the team and say that, we might not all get to agree on exactly what needs to be done, but let's first set the stage, right? Let's consider the options. And once the team makes a choice, then we commit, even if we disagree.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And make sure that all people have this understanding that all the voices were heard, right? And then I know and I hear your concerns about this option, but for the time being, let's all commit to that. And till the next checkpoint, let's give all our support to the idea that we choose together as a group of people, as a team.
Absolutely. And that's a very powerful approach facilitation technique for us to use. Thank you for sharing that, Rafał.
Thank you very much.
Monday is about what we learn from our obstacles and our failures. But tomorrow is Team Tuesday here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. We explore teams and their journeys, the habits they develop that threaten their performance, how each of our guests helped their teams evolve, and the one key lesson they learned from that experience. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.